Well, Justin, thank you for just sharing a few minutes of your Friday with us, just kind of going through some of this ACO stuff. I know there's a lot to y'all's portfolio, which is sometimes a little bit overwhelming, but it's obviously a good thing when people need a lot of different things when it comes to water management, building management, just kind of the interior, envelope that you guys cover, or I guess you primarily cover. But thanks again for your time. And, the thing that I wanted to do today that I don't think people really get a perspective on is, especially being from the flooring world, we're always looking down at something, right? And I think the biggest thing that we, pass over is just the ability to, we understand the floors, but our floors are always tied to something that's a drain of some sort. And so spend some time with you kind of understanding a little bit more about ACO but I think just giving more perspective and meaning behind what a drain actually does, more than just, capturing water and taking it somewhere. And again, in the world that we live in now, as far as being a lot more hyper-focused on hygiene and, sanigenics and all that, ACO obviously has a lot more meaning to people and they don't even know it. So maybe we'll just, take our kind of run through a little bit about you, a little bit about ACO, and then we can kind of get into some of the nitty-gritty stuff about hygiene and cleanliness and the design of y'all's drain systems.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Thanks for having me, and appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all today about ACO. My name is Justin.Tompkins. I am a business development manager with ACO for our South Central region, which includes the Texas market. Have been in the industry for over 10 years. I guess you could say, if I'm looking down, I'm not depressed. I'm checking out drains. That's kind of what I'm about. Just to jump into it, just a brief overview of ACO. ACO was founded in 1946 in Germany and was family owned, and to this day is still family owned, which is a wonderful a wonderful company to be part of. We started ACO USA in 1978, so we've been stateside for a little over 40 years. And most of the products we'll talk about today fall in what we would call our building drainage line. So it's our interior drainage, as you mentioned at the top, hygienic, more for your food processing type applications. We also have a division that focuses on external drainage, more galvanized steel and ductile iron type products for heavier loads. So really, if there's any kind of drain application that a customer has, we can accommodate it.
And so, but your involvement, again, you look at the portfolio of products with ACO, your involvement primarily is going to be hygiene related. So material selection is always going to be some form of a stainless. And for those people that don't know what, necessarily stainless comes in a lot of different forms, but the shiny stuff is, for lack of a better term, is going to be really what you're focused on. And then you touched a little
That's
bit of
right.
those markets that you cover is a pretty dynamic range of things, from commercial kitchens, schools, hospitals, hotels, all the way to food, pharma, biopharm production facilities, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, it's any number of markets, checking all the boxes of the categories you just said. Exactly right. Any application where a hygienic atmosphere where you really can't have that risk of bacteria developing in the atmosphere, the stainless drains are going to be a great option.
Okay. And before we get into, why hygiene design matters so much, especially, in today's world, and then obviously the markets you cover. But first, ACO and where are you guys located? How do you go to market? Tell us. I know you're a German company, but tell us a little bit about stateside. What are you guys doing? Where you're manufacturing, and how you support, customers, contractors, mechanical people, plumbers, etc.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So stateside, we have two factories and a third location that serves as a distribution center. So our primary location is in Casa Grande, Arizona, which is about the only thing between Phoenix and Tucson. So we manufacture most of our products there. So most of the products we'll talk about today come from Casa Grande, Arizona. We also have a facility in Mentor, Ohio, which is just outside of Cleveland. And then our third location is in Fort Mill, South Carolina, which is just south of Charlotte, North Carolina, so right across the Carolina border there. And as far as go-to-market strategy and how we work in that regard, we're fairly similar to some of the other companies, in the space where we work largely through wholesale network. We do have manufacturers representatives that we work with as well on the hygienic stainless drains to assist us in reaching all the audiences we need to. Because as you are familiar with, the chain for projects is quite lengthy, everywhere from the architect to the engineer to the contractor to the mechanical contractor, subcontractors, and then wholesalers. We have to be able to touch all of those levels to make sure that people first are aware of our product offering, are specifying our product offering, and then, of course, are following through and purchasing and installing our product. So, so we utilize a number of different avenues, but your traditional general contractor, engineering spec, and then wholesaler.
Yeah. And then Manchester Group obviously being rep for Sika Corporation for the flooring and wall coatings division. Again, something that wasn't recognized early on in my career with Sika or involvement with Sika, but ACO obviously being a German company and having a lot of European influence is a huge global partner for Sika. And I think over the last couple of years, that's translated itself over here to the United States. And it seems like there's more of a growing partnership. It's funny, I start to dig into more of your stuff, and the more I see is just these co-branded either research studies or marketing pieces or just involvement with Sika. So it's really fun that just to kind of understand that there's a lot more involvement. And again, when you look at the tie-in, there's a really a lot of similarities in what we do and what you guys do, and it's just a really neat deal that I had no idea that you guys were doing. So,
right, absolutely, yeah, and that's a great point too, because I've as I mentioned at the top, I've been working in the industry for over 10 years, and that includes drain products. And it's important to always remember that there is a correlation between the drainage selected and installed and the surrounding flooring. So that's why it makes so much sense for ACO to have that partnership with Sika. Even if it's something as simple as making sure that slip resistance factor between the surrounding floor and the drains we're supplying is equal, so you're not risking injuries to employees or customers. So yeah, it's an absolute win-win.
Well, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty details of the drain system specifically, but you mentioned that tie-in, and the greatest thing about ACO, especially when we're working with architects or engineers or even owners, and we talk about the tie-in with the floor, that's our biggest problem with in most facilities is that detail around the drains. I mean, that transition point has the biggest opportunity for failure. And what I love about ACO is they've really taken in that consideration of how those flooring systems, whether they're a resinous floor or some other sheet good or even like a Corey tile or something like that, how those things are going to incorporate in and around their drains. And that's why there's just such a benefit in that partnership that you have with Sika and other like suppliers of being able to have not only a design that makes sense for the drain itself, but the drain itself is designed to support those other peripheral things that are going to be coming in contact with it. So,
right.
So moving into, why hygiene is important. I mean, I always think, okay, if you don't have contaminants physically on the product, and usually that's going to be not product laying on the ground, but if product is kept clean, why does it really matter that drains have a design, a hygienic design? Why is it important that we really focus on the hygiene, even if we feel like that? Because I always felt like that. Why is that really important? If stuff's going to go down the drain and stuff sits in the drain, why is that really important? And let's take, for example, why would that be important in like a food plant to have such a
Sure.
crucial, focus on hygiene.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. So, yeah, and you'd be correct in thinking that as long as the finished goods are not exposed directly to any contamination risks or cross contamination, that everything is fine. But with when it comes to drains, most people think of those as the items on the floor that kind of develop bacteria and scale on the grates over time, and they're supposed to be dirty.
Hmm.
But the problem is when you're walking over them, there's that splash factor. Splashes can go all over the atmosphere, including where you don't want it on surfaces where food is prepared. Additionally, if bacteria or liquids are sitting in one place for a long time, they tend to infiltrate the air, and you have airborne pathogens, which can also make people sick. And there again, can also get into finished products as well. Statistics have shown that about a third of all bacteria contamination in commercial kitchens or food manufacturing environments comes from the drainage. So it's important to not only make sure that the spaces are properly drained, with the right number of drains, the right size of drains, but also the right materials that comprise the drains and the right shapes to make sure that that the drains are doing as they say or as they should. And Ryan, at the beginning of the conversation, you had mentioned that drains are more than just taking down waste. And although that is their main focus, it's always important to make sure that they're properly maintained too. Even at ACO, we don't make a magic drain where it can, if it never gets cleaned out, it's going to continue to work. So maintenance does fall into that category as well. But it's certainly important because any item within the environment that is neglected or not properly maintained can become a hazard for that environment, no doubt.
Yeah, I was blown away about that. There was a USDA article that I think you guys had put together in one of your presentations, or it was up on your website. I forgot where I saw it, but I had made a note that there was like 8.9 million Americans will suffer from some foodborne illness, which is
Right.
unbelievable. And then I think that, and this is I guess a study that was done by the USDA, but that again equates to, from an economic cost, almost $16 billion in just economical costs for foodborne illness that's directly related again to typically to your drain system and improper hygiene or installation or proper maintenance. So
Right.
when you start to look at it from that point of view, it makes a huge impact, for sure, and something that I was not privy to or realized that there was that much important into it.
Right, absolutely. And we've seen stories on the news too, where there will be, listeria or salmonella or E. coli outbreaks. It only takes, one mistake or one neglected, surface or drain to create quite a headache. So that's why it's always got to be at minimum at the back of a facility manager's minds.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about relationship between drain and the surrounding floor. And again, you talked a little bit about surface slippage and making sure that things correspond over over the flooring surface, drain surface. But tell me a little bit about the relationship there, and then again the unique kind of aspects as far as ACO and the tie-in and surroundings, and obviously just all the fit and finish that happens inside the drain that makes it, obviously a great profile to support hygiene.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're talking about the drain and floor relationship, there's a few things that need to be taken into account, and we touched on one of the main ones earlier, which is ensuring that the slip resistance factor of the surrounding floor and the drain grate that's chosen are equal to each other. So within the ACO portfolio, when we talk about slip resistance factors, all of our drain grates are put through a specific test that we perform to be given basically a slip resistance score. And it's likely that most floor manufacturers, I believe Sika would be one of those, would also have slip resistance factors for all the different finishes of their floors. So, that is something to consider. The most common one at ACO is our ladder grate. And the ladder grate has can be straight bars, or it can have beveled bars, which are going to be a little more slip resistant. So certainly when you're looking for a drain solution, certainly keep that in mind, and certainly you can work with us to determine what works best for your application. Another thing to look at is to make sure that the surrounding floor is smooth and tight around the drain. And this the onus for this falls on the installer. And a lot of times, especially when you're trying to tuck close around the drain, you're not wanting to, of course, pour any concrete or any flooring materials on the grates, because you want them to still be fully functioning when the business is open. But it's important to make sure that it's tight around the grate as well, so that you're not having any liquids seep into cracks before it gets to the drain, which can hurt the integrity of the floor and create cracks long term. But to make sure that the slope of the floor encourages all that liquid to get to the drain, not stop short, and as I mentioned, start cracking the surrounding floor. The next talking point is probably to discuss the grate height, and to make sure that the grate is flush and level with the grate surround, or the drain surround, or the sometimes called the frame, because it can have a trip hazard. I was talking with somebody earlier this week, actually, and they were looking for a solution because their prior drain over time had started to pull up a little bit. It was just 1/8 of an inch, which is minute. But even 1/8 of an inch of that grate sticking up above the rest of the frame can create a trip hazard. So we're not only talking about slip risk, but we're also talking about a trip hazard. So they're all things to consider within the scope of drain installation. And I would say 2 of the 3 main points fall on installation, and the third really comes down to the spec portion of it. Whoever is specifying the floor finish, manufacturer type, really needs to be conscious of the drains that are needed for the application, both in the material and the slip risk, to make sure that everything lines up.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of our businesses, we're always relying on other people doing their job or asking questions, and we obviously try to front run that as much as we can, especially on the specification side, and providing as much information and boxes to check for people to make sure that when a drain profile is set, it's set correctly, not only to be the best drain it can and perform to what its standards need to be, but again receive whatever that other coating maybe is that's coming up next to it. I mean, we were working on a project for a meat packing facility, and sure enough, talking to the architect, yeah, I got those details in there. We're going to set the elevation of the drain to correspond with 1/4 inch of flooring material to be installed after the drains are inlaid into the slab. And sure enough, talking to the MEP and the plumbing contractor, that was not the case. They were flush with the floor, and so it's just those things can make a huge difference, not only on just the performance of the drain, but obviously what their intended purpose is to keep people safe that are working in the facility, and then keep the customers safe where the food or product is ultimately going to be going. Looking at some of the profile views of your drains and talking about obviously the material selections critical as far as having a cleanable surface like a stainless product, but all the details as far as the rounded edges, edge fill-ins, the hygienic joints. It reminds me of in flooring and wall terms or Sika terms, we always talk about just this kind of seamless building envelope, and there's never opportunities where you have 90-degree transitions. You always have big rounded radiuses. You never want something to sit on top of a horizontal surface. You want stuff to always be either slope to drain, be able to have
Hmm.
positive drainage, and that means rounded corners, radiuses. There's never those sharp horizontal, and that's what I see a lot in y'all's drain design. Again,
Right.
very similar design in how we take a cove or a wall, a cove transition down to a floor. Very similar to what you guys are doing in your drain designs. If you're kind of looking at that drain from a profile view, so
Right.
again, people that are maybe used to looking at the internals of a drain and but know a bit about a wall and a floor system connection can correlate those two together. So
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think probably our listeners are super familiar with stainless and why that's important, but
Hmm.
in the most broadest term, can you tell me why when people look at a drain and they see something that's cast iron, looks similar to like what you would be making biscuits in or something like that on a kitchen stove. I mean, again,
Right.
and you look out hard at something like that's going to clean versus a stainless or a really nice pot and pan or something. I mean, tell us just in simplest terms, stainless. Maybe talk a little bit about just maybe the porosity or
Sure.
just the surface
Yeah.
flatness of stainless and why you guys always are a big proponent of stainless material in general.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So when you're talking about hygienic environments, stainless is the first go-to. So a number of reasons for that. With stainless steel, you are providing the environment with the smoothest material possible. Other drain products are comprised of, ductile iron, cast iron, nickel, bronze. You have fiberglass coated products. The list is pretty expansive. But when you're talking about stainless steel, um, even whether it's pre-manufacturing or even post-manufacturing, you're going to have the smoothest, roundest, corners and edges within the drains. So you're encouraging not only everything to enter the drain and make its way through and on out. There's really no opportunity for any of the contents or the liquid to stay anywhere, because with the stainless design, you're not going to have those, rusted out components or areas where corrosion can take place, because it's just that smooth stainless material. Um, at ACO, we actually take the stainless a step further, and we put it through a process that's called pickle and passivation, which is a strange sounding phrase. But what that does is it actually, once we take the stainless sheets and we mold them into, a shape of a drain or shape of a grate, whatever the case might be, is we basically surface treat the stainless steel basically a second time afterwards to make sure that it's as smooth and sheen as it was originally before it had been formatted into drains or grates or any other components. When you have, and I can't reiterate this enough, when you have a surface that is smooth from the get-go, rust and corrosion resistant, it's going to stay smooth, then you're not going to have those divots and pits within the drain body where bacteria can gather, and that happens when you have standing liquids or standing liquids combined with whether it be meat fat or debris from the environment, and if it doesn't get cleaned properly, that's just asking for bacteria, and that's where you start to get that airborne pathogen issue that we touched on earlier. And to your point, Ryan, earlier, and I'm glad you mentioned it, with the stainless steel products, we're able to format the drains so that you don't have those 90-degree corners in the drain. Everything is rounded off very nicely. There's a V shape where everything is introduced to the drain and encouraged to make its way toward the center outlet. It simply doesn't have any flat space where it can sit. So you're getting full drainability in that. in any drain product that is made out of stainless.
Nice. Um, and you bring up a point that talking about stainless. Obviously, there's the common issues, but I don't think we realize when you look at some of the products that go down a drain, like even just tomato-based products, or you talk about if it was pickle juice or something like that, how corrosive
Mm-hmm.
and damaging that can be. And if you, again, talking about stainless, it's a great, smooth, cleanable surface,
Right.
obviously resistant to rust. But when you start putting harsh chemicals, either from a cleaning process inside of a facility, or you've just got, highly acidic products, it can be definitely damaging. So that's obviously something that, I just don't think we always runs across our mind on what could be a potential point of failure.
Right, exactly. And to the point of rust, just one more anecdote there. For products that are comprised of cast iron or ductile iron, it's actually common for those to rust. That is actually what they do over time. It's common, and a lot of people will look at it and say, well, my drain's wearing out. It's not a good look for the facility to have rusted out drains, under their feet in a food preparation area. Stainless is going to, maintain that integrity. And also, one thing that I also wanted to add in addition to that is stainless is able to withstand higher temperatures a
Mm-hmm.
lot better over a longer period as well. And in food preparation environments where you have large kettles, boiled water that sometimes you have to dump out, you know, stainless, it's no problem. I was talking with a customer a couple weeks back, and they had to ensure that what they were going with would exceed temperatures of 212 degrees or higher, which is very common for kitchen environments. And stainless certainly will do that. They were looking at another option, another material, which would be pushing the limits. So you're covered in that regard too,
Yeah.
which is important.
Yeah. I again, we don't have enough time to go through all the different products, but you guys have,
Yeah.
everything from, area floor drains, troughs,
Right.
slotted drains. I think the one thing that would be, nice to tell people is a little bit about some of those other products, like some of the curbing systems that you have.
Hmm.
And then obviously talking a little bit about the stainless pipe. Again,
Yeah.
the stainless pipe is obviously fairly crucial too, especially on new construction where you guys are probably doing a complete system versus. I know a lot of the stuff that I've been involved personally has been mostly rehab work where we're tearing out an old drain or replacing it with a new drain profile, but we're not really getting into the physical, piping or the plumbing behind the drain. Tell us a little bit about the stainless
Yeah.
piping that you guys sell and specify with your drain systems. And then I think it'd be interesting just because this is something where me and you are actively working on a couple of projects with, but tell us about some of that curbing products that you have and maybe anything else that you think the listeners might want to hear about as far as you guys supplying.
Right. Absolutely. So we believe at ACO that we want to be a one-stop shop for all the drainage needs, but it goes beyond that. So as Ryan alluded to, we have the full complement of linear drains, point drains, slot drains that we can do, floor troughs, which would go in our portfolio. But we want to take it a step further because, especially when you're specifying products, if you can simplify the supply chain or you can simplify the spec with fewer manufacturers, it just makes it simpler. Not in addition to the drainage products, we also do offer stainless steel push fit pipe as well, which is also comprised of stainless steel. So not only are we supplying the drainage products, but we can also supply the outlet piping that goes from the drains, and on out, whether it be, through a grease separation device on its way out of the building or whatever the case might be. So yes, so our pipe is, as I mentioned, it's a double lip seal. It's a push fit, so it's very simple to install. It's lighter weight than your traditional cast iron piping would be. And it's also more resistant to bends and issues should there be pipe installed and a forklift goes into it. Whereas other pipes of different materials may actually crack and break open, ours would simply bend and certainly could be bent back into place. So definitely an attractive option that further completes our offering from the drain on out of the building. So we manufacture, and this goes for our drainage products as well. That our standard is a 304 stainless steel. We can also make 316L grade stainless steel. Most food applications, 304 will be an acceptable, robust strength of stainless steel. 316 is available also, and that's going to come into play more when you have higher acidic type applications where even stainless over time can be suspect. But 316 stainless steel will do the trick in those type of applications. But we stock pipe really anywhere from 2 inches up to 2-inch diameters. You have a 50-plus year lifetime expectancy, which in essence is the life of a building. As I mentioned, it's push fit, highly corrosion resistant because once again it is stainless steel. And one other thing to mention with it is it's in the case of a fire, it is a better option as well, because a lot of people don't know that in the case of a fire, it's more the fumes and it's more what people are breathing in that becomes toxic than it is the actual fire itself. As people are trying to leave a fire environment, what they're breathing in can be actually more deadly than the fire itself. So with the stainless steel, it's not going to give off toxic fumes as some other materials of pipe would. So that's another consideration that we like to also mention with our product. And then just kind of switching over to the other product that you mentioned, the ACO curb. What the curb is its wall protection. So it basically will make the transition from the floor to the wall environment seamless. So you're not going to have liquids or any materials from the manufacturing environment get stuck in the crevice between the wall and the floor. There again, that can be an area that harvests bacteria. If water sits there for a long time, can certainly make a hygienic environment not so hygienic.
Yeah. So
the ACO curb we offer in stainless steel. We also offer it in a polymer concrete version. Both are suitable environments, are suitable for particular environments. The ACO polymer curb is available in a couple different heights, 200 and 300 millimeters. And of course, we can offer street pieces, outside and inside corners, just based on what the curve of the rooms are or the manufacturing environments will be. And then our stainless we offer in single and double-sided options. Most applications would call for single side, which is just going up against the wall rather than between walls. And that's offered in standard and 300 millimeter height. But we do have the ability to make custom heights in our Casa Grande, Arizona facility. So, so we are at heart a drainage manufacturer, but we like to see ourselves as a solutions provider, and that's why we offer these additional products, the outlet piping that continues from our drains, as well as the ACO curb. Because if we're really serious about making hygienic environments and keeping them that way, then we want to make sure we offer the breadth of product to do that.
Nice. Yeah, some of that curb stuff makes so much sense and such a complementary product, not only to the stuff that we sell and provide on the flooring side, but obviously the drain side. And again,
Right.
those polymer concrete, those modified curb systems are obviously meant to be coated over. So you could, again,
Right.
they provide the transition in that detail to be to have a coating, from the floor rolled up over that and then up a wall. So And
Right.
everything that we've experienced and worked with is very easy to install. And again, it's just a great quality and looking product. I think,
Hmm.
closing up, I think the big focus that we've seen today has been on, material selection, and that stainless provides all those things. And I think, going back real quick, I mean, stainless can look a lot of different ways, right? I mean, you can just have raw
Right.
stainless and just, I think the overall, theme to take away from, what ACO does with stainless, just that finish quality. I mean, you can have a really bad paint job on a car, and ACO's kind of like, when you look at stainless can be stainless, but it can look a lot of different things, and ACO's kind of that high quality mirror finish, um, you know, car looking like paint, but they do it with stainless, and you guys do it exceptionally well. Um, we
Exactly.
talked a lot about, and you can see us or you can hear us, but you can't see a lot about what we're talking about. I mean, just so the listeners know, we're going to put a lot of this, a lot of the information we talked about in the show notes, and kind of better explanation of what the profiles look like, what all we were talking about. So again, make sure to check that out, and we'll definitely include your information so they know how to get in contact with you about whether someone that's listening is a contractor that needs help, specifying a drain or helping an existing customer out, or it could be a mechanical person, plumbing
Right.
plumbing designer, or even an architect. We'll make sure that we put your information in the notes as well. And you're located right there in Fort Worth and cover, a kind of a multi-state area. And so
Correct.
again, people from not just Texas or be happy to reach out to you and get obviously information or just resources on who they might need to contact or what they need to do if they have a upcoming or current drain project going on. So
Absolutely.
well, Justin, thank you so much for your time. We'll kind of take it and wrap it up there. And like I said, yeah, thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay?
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah.